1, the forest was silent. 2, silent. Then a distant metallic ringing echoed through the darkness, like a warning. Like something hidden deep in the woods had just noticed me. I've traveled to places people only dream about, seen views that don't feel real. But sometimes the most dangerous journeys aren't far away. They're the ones you walk into blindly. That evening, I drove deeper into the mountains, surrounded by endless autumn trees glowing in red and gold. Beautiful. Yes, but there was something unsettling about how still everything felt. The cabin stood completely alone in the middle of the forest. No nearby houses, no sounds of life, just silence stretching endlessly in every direction like it was waiting. As I stepped out of the car, the cold air hit me instantly. It felt fresh, almost too clean, but beneath that there was a strange feeling I couldn't explain. The forest didn't feel alive the way it should. No rustling animals, no distant birds, just a stillness so deep it almost felt unnatural and wrong. I sat on the wooden deck with a drink, staring at the mountains ahead. It looked peaceful, almost perfect, but something about it didn't sit right with me. That silence kept pulling at me, like it was trying to tell me something. Not loudly, but quietly, in a way that made it impossible to ignore. As night fell, darkness swallowed everything around the cabin. The lights inside felt small and weak against the endless black forest surrounding me. Standing there, I couldn't shake the feeling. Like something out there in the trees was watching me, waiting patiently for the right moment to reveal itself. I woke up just before sunrise, the sky still dark and heavy. The silence outside pressed against my ears in a way that felt almost suffocating. I decided to go for a run, thinking the fresh air would clear my head. The trails were empty, just like the listing promised, quiet and isolated. As I stepped outside, the cold wrapped around me tightly. The fog drifted slowly between the trees, moving in a way that almost looked intentional. The trail was covered in dry leaves, and each step I took echoed louder than expected, breaking the stillness of the forest in an uncomfortable way. My breathing grew heavier as I ran, the rhythm of my footsteps becoming the only sound in a place that felt like it was holding its breath. But the deeper I went, the more the forest began to feel different. Not dangerous exactly, but aware, like it knew I was there. And then I felt it, that sudden, sharp sensation that someone, or something, was watching me from somewhere I couldn't see. I stopped and turned around quickly, scanning the trees behind me. But there was nothing, only endless rows of silent, unmoving forest. Still, the feeling didn't fade. It stayed there, crawling beneath my skin, refusing to let me feel at ease again. My instincts were screaming now, telling me to leave, to get out. But my mind kept trying to explain it away as nothing. I forced myself to keep running, pretending everything was normal, but my body refused to relax, every muscle tense with unease. I picked up my pace, hoping distance would make the feeling disappear. But instead, it only seemed to follow me even closer. Every step felt heavier now, like I was being chased by something invisible, something that didn't want me to notice it. I stopped again, heart pounding hard in my chest, scanning every direction for movement, for any sign that I wasn't alone. But the forest remained silent, empty, and yet somehow more terrifying than if something had actually been there in front of me. I hurried back to the cabin, trying to convince myself it was all in my head, but deep down, I knew something about that run wasn't normal. The hot water from the shower ran over me, but it didn't help. The unease stayed, clinging to me like something I couldn't wash away. Then I heard it, a faint sound from somewhere inside the house. Not loud, but clear enough to make me freeze instantly. I stepped out slowly, listening carefully. The house looked empty, but the silence inside felt completely different now. The wooden floor creaked beneath me, slow and deliberate, like a response rather than just an old house settling naturally. I held my breath, waiting for another sound, hoping to prove it was nothing. But the quiet that followed felt even worse. The kitchen stood dark, shadows stretching across the floor in ways that didn't feel quite right anymore. Outside the window, the forest remained still, like it was watching from a distance, completely unmoving and silent. I tried to shake it off, telling myself old houses make noise, that everything had a logical explanation. I grabbed my phone, forcing myself to focus on something normal, something that made sense. Then suddenly, a loud sound from upstairs broke the silence completely.
Hello, what is doing there?
Sharp enough to send a jolt through my entire body. I froze in place, heart racing uncontrollably, every instinct telling me not to move any further. The staircase looked darker now, almost unfamiliar, like it led somewhere I shouldn't be going at all, and still, I forced myself to walk up slowly, each step heavier than the last, every movement filled with hesitation. The room upstairs was empty. Nothing out of place, nothing disturbed, nothing that explained what I had just heard. But the curtain moved slightly, even though the windows were closed and the air inside was completely still. I exhaled slowly, trying to calm myself down, trying to believe it was just my imagination playing tricks. But deep down, I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was wrong. Something was very wrong, because it felt like I wasn't alone anymore. Like something else was inside that house with me, and whatever it wasn't leaving anytime soon. That night in town felt completely different. Lights, people, noise. Everything felt normal again, like the world I understood. I laughed with coworkers, trying to act like nothing had happened earlier, like everything was perfectly fine.
And then he just walked
But even
right
in the
into
middle
the
of all
meeting.
that noise,
No way.
I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still wrong. Driving back felt longer than before. The road darker and emptier, like it didn't want me to return to that place. The cabin stood there again, exactly as I left it, silent, dark, and waiting in the middle of the forest. I stepped inside slowly, every sense alert, every small detail suddenly feeling important. I locked the door once, the sound of the click echoing louder than expected in the quiet house. Then I locked it again. Just to be sure, my hands already starting to shake slightly. No, and then a third time, because something inside me refused to feel safe no matter what I did. My hands trembled as I stepped back, realizing just how scared I had become without fully noticing it. The darkness inside the house felt heavier now, like it wasn't just empty space anymore. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, unable to close my eyes no matter how tired I felt. Every second stretched endlessly, each moment filled with a quiet tension I couldn't escape. Then I heard it, a faint sound from downstairs that immediately pulled me out of any sense of calm. And in that
What was
moment,
that sound from downstairs?
I knew for sure I was not alone in that house
check.
anymore. I walked downstairs slowly, each step echoing unnaturally loud, like the house itself was amplifying every movement I made. The living room was completely dark, the kind of darkness that feels heavy and thick, like it's pressing in around you. And then I saw it, a shape standing in the kitchen, barely visible but unmistakably there. I froze instantly, my body refusing to respond, my mind struggling to understand what I was seeing. Slowly, I reached for the light switch, my hand shaking as fear took full control of me. The moment the light turned on, everything became real in the worst possible way. A man stood there in the kitchen, tall, dirty, staring directly at me without blinking. We locked eyes for a moment that felt endless, neither of us moving, the tension unbearable. Then suddenly, without warning, he moved, fast and aggressive, breaking the silence instantly. He ran straight toward me, and in that moment, instinct took over completely. I turned and ran as fast as I could, my heart racing beyond control, panic taking over every thought. Everything blurred around me as I rushed toward my room, desperate to get somewhere safe. I slammed the door shut behind me with all my strength, barely managing to stay ahead of him. My hands shook violently as I locked the door, knowing it might not be enough to stop him. I grabbed my phone and called for help, my voice barely steady as fear completely took over. The banging started instantly, loud and violent, each hit shaking the door harder than the last. The wood began to crack under the pressure, small splinters breaking off with every impact. I whispered into the phone, struggling to speak clearly, barely able to form words through the fear.
Listen.
Then he spoke from the other side, his voice distorted and wrong.
It's not safe here.
I love you.
Echoing through the
I'll
door.
go back.
My blood ran cold instantly. Realizing this wasn't just an intruder, something about him was completely unhinged. The door started to give in, the cracks spreading wider with each violent hit from the other side. His voice grew louder, more emotional, more desperate, like he was losing control completely. Then I heard it, sirens in the distance.
Why are you doing
Faint
this to
but
me?
real, cutting through the chaos. The banging stopped suddenly, replaced by a silence that felt just as terrifying. Flashing red and blue lights filled the room, reflecting through the cracks in the broken door. Moments later, police stormed inside, their presence breaking the nightmare instantly.
I sat there in the corner, shaking uncontrollably, trying to process what had just happened. The next morning, everything looked normal again. The same cabin, the same forest, nothing out of place. But one thing never left me, that feeling from the woods, that I was being watched long before I ever stepped inside.